Is Quinn Meinerz one of the 10 best guards in the NFL? ESPN released their rankings over the weekend and said that he's outside of the top 10 interior offensive linemen, but guard specifically is a little bit closer. We're digging into those rankings, plus we're going to figure out what the Broncos' long-term plan at tight end is. We kind of know what it's going to look like this season, and it looks pretty ugly. So hopefully they've got something in mind for the offseason to shore things up there. We'll be live in 30 seconds. Welcome into the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Broncos Podcast. I'm Henry Chisholm, joined by Super Bowl 50 champion Todd Davis. How's your weekend?
It was a good weekend. I had some family in town.
You always have family in town.
Yeah. That's kind of how I live. But we went to the Bubble Experience, which was kind of cool. So it's like
what is
these
that?
Big. It's like for kids. They have a lot of ball pits and balloon kind of like rooms you could go into, and it was pretty cool. So we had a good time with that, and then just hang out, had some good food, went to the melting pot, very good. Wow. So solid weekend.
Okay.
Solid weekend. What about you, man? What you get into this weekend?
Oh, there were a lot of things. I didn't get to watch as many movies as I was hoping.
Did you watch any?
No.
Damn.
I really thought I was going to be able to, but then like it was just so busy because Friday the Nuggets played that night. It was like the first Summer League game. Saturday we went to the UFC fight Saturday night.
Okay.
The Rockies played in the afternoon. There's something else going on. And then Sunday there was the baseball draft and the Rockies were in the there was just so many sports all weekend that I wasn't prepared for. But soon, especially now that Lexi's back, I'm not going to get away with just watching every baseball game that happens. So I'm going to have to turn to some movies. But I was also wanting some help because the college football video game comes out today at 2:00 for people who pre-ordered.
Yep.
And I still don't know which team to use. Colorado's right there in the running, but I know you're in a similar boat where like I want to play as Montana. Montana's not in the game. Sacramento State not in the game. So I'm trying to figure out what team to take there.
Yeah, Colorado probably should be your number one, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Second best, I guess.
Yeah.
To Montana.
Yeah. The only thing is like they already have Travis Hunter, like they have Shedeur Sanders. Like it's almost like too good of a team. I guess you got to replace them after this season. You can kind of build from there. I don't know. The idea of like building up a worse team, like Oklahoma State, for example, might be the move.
That's your
You
vibe.
didn't even listen to that.
Crazy. Because
There
they
we go.
just made the Big 12 championship.
There we go. For the last time. Yeah, I don't know. I can't figure it out.
No, you gotta flip a coin. Just randoms. Just hit random a couple times and then just you know what I'm saying, pick from the three randoms.
Yeah, none of those
I
like
will say they're gonna have creator builds in there, so you can make your own
I know.
colleges. And I guarantee by like week 2, somebody's gonna have a Montana build.
That's
They're
the thing.
Gonna have the dynasty in there for you.
like I've seen a bunch of Montana fans saying like, okay, I'm gonna build this. Like, can anybody help out with like rosters and that stuff? So I know eventually that's going to happen, but it's probably at least a week away, and they might not do a great job. And so then you gotta wait for somebody to do a good job. And fortunately for a lot of reasons, training camp starts next week, and so this whole thing is gonna be a lot more fun. It also means that there's not nearly as much time to be building teams in video games. The other question that I have for you though is that so in the game you can now like disguise coverages on defense. So you run a cover 3, you can just press a button and say like make it look like cover 2. In like a real football sense, how often should you disguise a coverage? Because in my mind, there are like two different ways to look at it. Like just disguise every time, they never know what's coming. Or you go like, we're running cover 3, we're running cover 3, we're running cover 3, we're showing cover 3, but we're shifting into a cover 2, and that's how you get the turnover.
Yeah, I always loved kind of like the ideology of kind of like make everything look the same.
Okay.
So everything starts out as a too high safety look, and it's like on the snap of the ball, whether the safety comes down to the box, and now it's cover 1, or just kind of some rotation makes it cover 3, if they stay back there, and now it's cover 2, like you won't know what we're in until the ball is snapped.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of, because there's no way to really game plan for, or like get any pre-step keys.
Yep.
You kind of just got to read and react. And I think most quarterbacks can't do that. I think it's a really hard thing to do, to try and understand things, because there's so much happening. You got to get the snap. You got to look to your receiver. You got to look at the safety, see who drops, see who, like it's a lot of things to try and consider.
And so you go, like you would show cover 4 then?
All the time.
Not cover 2. Like you just want those corners to sit a little bit deeper, I guess?
Yeah, I think cover 4.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because cover 2...
They just have to be so fast on the outside for that to work.
Yeah. Well, that, and I think off man is, for some guys, off man is easier than like press man. So if I sit in cover 2 all day, then you got to play press man.
Yep.
Whereas if I sit in cover 4, then Devontae Adams can do all his little shakes at the line, and you're not reacting to it because you're like 6 years off, as opposed to being like right there with them.
At the same time, though, like when you go back and watch Pat Surtain last season, half the time you turn on one of his snaps, you just think like, why isn't he up there at the line of scrimmage? Like that's what he's so great at, is he can jam guys up at the line and then run with them down the sideline because he has the speed too. So in some ways, it kind of feels like a waste if you have like a great press man cornerback,
Yeah, I think you can change it up depending on who you have in the room. Pat, I feel like maybe we do show cover 2 every time just because Pat's so good.
Yeah.
And bump and run technique. So you can change it up based off who's in the room for sure.
Oh, I'm about to beat people up today. 2 o'clock. It's going to be so much fun. We've got more of these ESPN rankings to get through today. We're going to change things up a little bit as we go through the week. Ooh, we should also say on Sunday, we are going to be having a college football video game tournament here at the bar. So there's actually a link on Twitter if you want to go sign up. Let's see. Here's all the details. So Sunday, we will be live, Todd and I, from 1 to 2 p.m. You can come hang out with us after also. And then there's the tournament where, you guys know how video game tournaments go. Plans for this to go from about 1 to 5 on Sunday. We're also going to be giving away 3 nights at Circa with flights to Vegas for the Broncos game there against the Raiders. That's November 22nd through 25th. Those are the 3 nights. And so I think we're giving away 3 of those trips. So, if we get 10 people, there's a 30% chance that you're going to win a weekend in Vegas with all the flights and all that stuff paid for. We get 100 people, all of a sudden it's only 3%, but still better than nothing. So come hang out with us at the bar. Like I said, there's a raffle. You got to be 21 or older for that because, it is Circa 21 plus casino resort. But that is going to be a bunch of fun. So come play video games and hang out with us and win trips to Vegas. It sounds like a great combination. Getting into these rankings. So today we want to do the interior offensive line. That's kind of how they group things. They tackle, they did interior. So guard, center, guard. This was one of the spots where we thought that the Broncos might actually have a representative. And unfortunately, they did not. Quinn Meinerz fell out of the top 10 into the honorable mention category. We'll get to him in a second because I think it's kind of interesting to see where he falls in that honorable mention as well. But we can just start at the top here. I'll read through the entire top 10. You've got Zach Martin. You've got Chris Lindstrom. You've got Quentin Nelson 3, Joe Tooney 4, Joel Bitonio 5, Landon Dickerson 6, Creed Humphrey 7. That's your first center on the list. Frank Ragnow at 8, the second center. At 9, Trey Smith. And then 10, Elton Jenkins. First thing that stands out to me is that you've got Thuney at 4, Creed Humphrey at 7, and Trey Smith at 9. That's the Chiefs' interior offensive line. They've got 3 in the top 10, which is pretty crazy. Yeah.
We talked about it on the show, when we were comparing the Broncos versus the Chiefs' offensive line. And just this front 3 that they have, it's hard to compete with. Even though Quinn's a good player, Powers is a good player. We don't know who our starting center is, but even if we had Cushenberry, I don't think we would, crack the top 10. So hats off to them. They put together a good O-line, and for a long time that was not their strength. For a long time they had a weak offensive line, and Patrick Mahomes just making guys look good, but they really found a way to make it work.
They did. The other thing that really stands out to me is that, like, this is just the exact same group. It seems like every year.
Yeah.
And it changes a little bit because, like, Jason Kelsey retired.
Yep.
But for the most part, I mean, you look at Zach Martin, he's been way up there at the top for half a decade. Chris Lindstrom, the last few years, has proven that he's one of the top guys in the league. Quentin Nelson, obviously. Thuney, Bitonio. I guess Landon Dickerson's kind of new, but that top 4 or 5 guys has stayed about the same, minus a couple who retired, for so long. And this is something we talked about a bit with the Pro Bowl voting last year for Quinn. So it's just so tough to get all the way up to the top because, a 26-year-old guard is really good. He's probably just going to stay really good for a long time. And it's kind of like the opposite of voter fatigue. It's a lot easier when there's a receiver to say, like, oh, this guy has 1,400 yards. We got to put him in. At guard, it's like, sure, Quinn's having a great year, but also it's Joel Bitonio. Are we really going to leave Joel Bitonio out of here? We can't do that.
Yeah. I think the offensive linemen are so good in the league because, they're big, they're fast, they're physical, and I think there's like a mental part of the game that you have to understand as an O-lineman. And once you figure that out, I think that lasts longer than most other positions. Like you're able to play longer as an O-lineman just based off your smarts, whereas a DB, you lose that speed, but you're smart. It'll start showing up that you can't move around the way that you used to move around, even though you are smart. Whereas a guard is such close quarters, I can do things pre-snap. I can do things right when the play starts, like chopping your hands down, that are like smart plays that don't have to I don't have to be as fast as I was coming out my rookie year. I don't have to be as strong as I once was. I just keep getting smarter and smarter, and it allows me to stay on the field as like an interior offensive lineman.
It seems like speed goes before strength.
Yeah.
And maybe you could see it more like older guys once you turn, like Jason Kelsey, maybe not as strong at the end of his career, but it does feel like, especially for a guard, you're not too worried about quickness in the first place. Like sometimes you'll get got by quickness, but it's kind of rare. For the most part, if you can just stay big, stay strong, and you're that smart, you're going to be just fine.
Yep.
Before we get into the Quinn conversation, let's talk about UC Health. UC Health is awesome. We've really enjoyed the first, we're like 2 months into our partnership with them. Maybe only 1 month. The offseason, it's tough to tell. But we went out there for that home run derby, the Healthy Swings, where they raised a bunch of money for charity by having a bunch of football players come out and hit home runs. Have Todd come try to hit home runs.
Hit some dingers.
Exactly. Right now they have a big push, basically going for live like there is a tomorrow is what they're calling it, and talking about a bunch of the different athletes who've gone through some different things, including there was an Olympic hopeful, David Schlicht, who loved being outdoors, all of a sudden had to have his leg amputated, and they were able to help him with a prosthetic leg, kind of relearn his purpose in life and figure out how to continue to be an athlete despite going through something like that. So they've got a whole bunch of stories of that type, how they're trying to help people who are in David's position. And if you want to check them out, you can go to uchealth.org/tomorrow to learn what it means to live like there is a tomorrow.
And shout out to our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing, the best roofers in Denver. Yeah. They are the people that I trust to take care of my home or my business, keep a roof over my head, and they are very, very. They do a very good job at it. They use quality materials. They have decades of experience. They have a quick response time, and they're huge supporters of DNVR. So we support them. They support us. We love them. They love us. And they have a free, no-obligation roof and property inspection. They offer a free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. They will give you a free upgrade to a hail impact-resistant shingle. If you guys live in Colorado and know Colorado well, we get a lot of different seasons, snow, a little bit of rain, but that hail season is no joke, and it'll definitely damage your roof. So you definitely need to take care of it and be taken care of by Red Hawk Roofing. You can support your local teams. Supporting your local teams means also supporting local businesses like Red Hawk Roofing. If you are looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921 and tell them that DNVR sent you.
All right, let's hit these honorable mentions. Wyatt Teller, Tyler Smith, Eric McCoy, Robert Hunt, Michael Onwenu. I don't think I've ever said his name out loud before.
There you go.
Lloyd Cushenberry, and Quinn Meinerz. So, I've wondered while we've been doing these for the past week or so whether these honorable mentions are in order. Because they're not in alphabetical order. They're not in, like, alphabetical by team order. Like, there really is... It's either totally random or there is, like, the order in which, like, who is closest to the top.
Best, yeah.
And when you look at, like, Wyatt Teller being at the top there, it's like that... He does seem like he should kind of be in that conversation. Tyler Smith, Eric McCoy. Quinn Meinerz being at the bottom of that list, I think that's certainly wrong. I think, honestly, as being right behind Lloyd Cushenberry, I, at the very least, would have those two flipped.
Lloyd had a really good year last year.
He did have a good year.
Was it as dominant as we felt like Quinn's was? Not necessarily.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe it's just because Quinn's still a Bronco and they think Lloyd may do better at his new home. But it's tough because you look at the list, man. I don't know who he's just like dominating above. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys have been really good for a long time. Yeah, it's tough.
It is really tough. And I think that, I talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about the contract extension. He does just have a few of those hiccups in pass protection, which make total sense. And I think they're going to continue to decrease. And within maybe even this is the year where all of a sudden you say, like, yeah, he's clean in pass protection and he does all these same things as a run blocker. But, when you look through, Frank Ragnow, Creed Humphrey, Landon Dickerson up on that list, like, you could probably count on one hand the number of times they had a rep in pass protection that you're just like, that didn't go well for him. Either got physically dominated, made a mistake. Whereas with Quinn, you just have a couple of those, and when push comes to shove, that becomes a lot tougher to justify putting in front when the margins are so slim. At the same time, though, I think in the running game, there might not be a single player on this list who's as valuable as Quinn is. I think... like Quentin Nelson is somebody who can put together that same type of highlight reel that Quinn can, where you pull him and he hits somebody and all of a sudden there's a wide open running lane. But I'd still take Quinn. Just that combination of strength and mobility is rare. And as soon as, they have ESPN tracks the pass block win rate and run block win rate. So Quinn's pass block win rate, 91.7%. When just looking at the top of the list, Lindstrom, they actually didn't include it in his. They actually didn't include it in a bunch of them. 99.1% was Joe Tooney's pass block win rate. So you have most of these guys, 95.7 for Batonio, 95.7 for Dickerson. So there is just that tick below where Quinn is a step behind still, which... I'm not concerned about it. He's still a good pass protector, but when you're comparing him to the best in the league, there is another step he can take.
Yeah, and that was his first year as a full-time starter.
First full season.
First full season, I should say.
So missed a handful the year before.
Hell of a year, So
Yeah.
I think he's only getting better, and that's the thing that I like about Quinn, is that he keeps getting better, and if he can continue to hone in his skills, like we said before. Offensive guards that are pretty good stay pretty good for a long time. So hopefully this is a piece that the Broncos can keep around for a long time. And if,
get a little discount.
This list holds any weight, yes, I think there's a honorable mention discount as opposed to a top 10, up pay boost. So,
yep.
I'm not saying that I would show this to his agent, but if I was the Broncos, but I may have a fax a copy over.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty crazy still, though, to look, Robert Hunt, another guard in the honorable mention category. If this is in order, he's just a couple spots in front of Quinn. Robert Hunt signed a deal with the Panthers this offseason, 5 years, $100 million. That's in the honorable mention tier. It's still 20 per year, which is kind of the number that you're wondering about when it comes to Quinn. So I'm curious where this all finishes. It's also fun to see Lloyd on this list. He was... When he was drafted, I remember on the draft podcast, we all just assumed he was going to be a first-round pick. Because he was the best center in the class. Like, you look at what he did at LSU. He's on some really good LSU teams there, too. I mean, they were saying protections. Everything was just so sharp that's kind of like the kicker, where all of a sudden you're like, he has the physical tools. He's a great athlete. And you can see very few flaws. And again, like, some of that's Joe Burrow. There's a whole bunch going on. But it was a bit of a slow start for him in Denver, which makes sense as a rookie center. What he did last year was really impressive, and they had an anonymous quote from an NFL coordinator who said he's athletic, versatile, that he can do a lot. He'll give Tennessee flexibility up front. And I hadn't really thought of it that way, but Lloyd is just a very versatile player. I think they ran so many screens last year where they're able to pull him and get him out in space, which I feel like is a little bit rare for a center. Like, that's not necessarily the guy who you get out in space lead blocking, but he does a lot of that and does it really well. He's become a lot stronger in the lower half of his body, so he can anchor. He's not getting knocked back anymore, which comes up in the power. He has obviously mobility for zone systems. He's turned into a very well-rounded player, which I hadn't really thought about, but when they phrased it like that, it made me realize.
Yeah, usually your center is your least athletic O-lineman, and with him, it doesn't feel like that. And it's crazy because if you look at the list of interior offensive linemen, it's mostly guards.
It is.
So if you just take out the center, according to this list, he's like the fourth best center in the NFL, which is huge. And he plays, I think, similar to Kelce as far as his ability to get out in space. I think that's one thing that set Kelce apart is, like, I wouldn't say Kelce was just like a dominant, like, smash your head in kind of O-lineman, but he was very, very good at understanding, like, how to just position his body right where it needed to be to cut you off, and just doing what he needed to do to make the play kind of like spring forward. So I think that's what Lloyd kind of like what clicked for him this year. It felt like he had an understanding for where he needed to put his body and how he needed to get in between the man and the ball. And, you don't have to be the Hulk.
Yeah.
You just have to be able to put your body in good positions. Nice little scoop block, cut off, you know what I'm saying? Just make it look clean and provide some running lanes for the running back. So it's tough that we lost him because I do feel like he was a good center and was really getting better.
Exactly.
He was another guy like Quinn, just every year just was getting better and getting better. First year was rough. I mean, you're a rookie in the NFL. It's going to be tough. So, it sucks that he's gone, but I'm happy that he made the list.
Definitely. And a lot of guys on the offensive line also, like, they realize how much better Lloyd's gotten. And give him a bunch of credit, but they also bring up how helpful Zach Strief was. The offensive line coach who came over with Sean from New Orleans. And just the way Lloyd understood how everything was supposed to happen in front of it, like being able to make those calls. They said that was a big part of the jump, was just that he got taught the right way how to do that part of the job. And we've known all along that Lloyd's super smart. Like, again, when you go back, he was a first-round draft prospect because he has just about everything you could ask for in a center. But that all just popped last year. I'm curious how this all plays out. I also wonder if... So, again, this is a poll of 80 different coaches and executives and scouts from across the NFL who all put in their ballots. I wonder if, because he was a free agent this year... everybody had been scouting him. And so when they said, hey, come list your top 10 guys, they're all just like,
they've been looking
he's at the top of mind because they were just watching him a couple months ago. But again, obviously he impressed them if that was the case.
Yeah, I could see that be the case. But I think what you talk about Zach Strief and him, I think it shows how important coaching is. And everybody feels like a lot of guys feel like it's all them. And some guys don't understand how important coaching is. Like my coach, linebacker coach, Reggie Herring, like I definitely wouldn't have been the player I was without him and his guidance. So it's important. I've been watching Sprint. Have you guys seen Sprint? Have you guys seen Sprint on Netflix? Oh man, it's a really good documentary about the sprinters like preparing for the Olympics. It kind of goes through last season, so it has like the World Championships. And then it also has like Olympic trials going on, and it's super, super good. But there's this team in Jamaica, and they had like all the top sprinters there at the same time. And these girls were like killing everybody. Well, 2 of the top girls leave the team because they have whatever issues with the coach, and 1 girl stays. Well, those 2 girls end up like kind of falling off because they feel like, one has her husband coaching her, and then the other one has like, another coach, but they leave what made them great. You know what I'm saying? So this new girl, now she's just winning everything. Now she's killing it. That just goes to show you how important coaching is. And outside of that, if you guys haven't seen Sprint, that's another good documentary, man. It's a good show. I'm plugging a lot of shows on here, but it's good.
No, that's good. I need a new list. Speaking of sprinters, I've been looking for a way to get into the Olympics because like
you want to get in, or are you talking about just?
I did have that thought though, because you move to like the smallest country you can think of, and like raise your kids there, and like teach them some like unique skill.
But that's the thing. What would you?
I couldn't figure one out. Like I was wondering if like the billiards, if you get like but I don't even know what country, like just whatever tiny little one where
the smallest country that gets a nod. Yeah,
exactly.
Why?
I agree.
That's crazy.
We've got like breakdancing's in now.
Breakdancing is an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
I think
skateboarding's fine.
Skateboarding's hard though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it takes a lot of physical strength.
You can
and,
like spin around on your head then.
Huh?
You can break dance. Do all the.
But I don't know. But you could do like curling. What about curling?
Curling's in. I do like curling.
Yeah.
I actually up in Montana. One of my professors was a big curler, and so we went out there a couple times. I actually had a curling team for a minute.
You were
awesome.
on the team?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
No, it was awesome.
That's your sport,
We
man.
got
That's
pretty
your way
good.
in.
Yeah, maybe that is the way in.
Or you could do that. What's the one where they do the skiing and then they got to take off the gun, they got to shoot the targets, and they get back on there?
Call that? Ski.
Oh yes.
No, it's awesome. It's. What do they call that?
Hey,
I do
the
like
chat
that
brings
though.
Chat, if you know the name of that sport, let us know.
Yeah,
Chat brings up a good point. That you also have to qualify for the Olympics in your really small country, so you can't just like, move there and get
Yep.
And just think you're about
It's
to
not
dominate.
automatic, but it does make it a lot easier.
Yes.
Also, I love Alex Roberts fishing saying fishing should be in the Olympics. That's on brand. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. Like, I'm not sure what I'm most excited for. Like, I'll watch a track, I'll watch a swimming. I'm still figuring it out. I'm getting like generally excited, but there isn't one specific thing where I'm like, oh, this is it. Although like Joker, of course, I love watching Team Serbia.
Yeah.
I'll be just as excited as for men's and anything else. I think Bet365 though, they only have a few bets up right now, at least that I've found. You can bet on which country will get the most gold medals. USA is -600, so I like to see that we're in good shape there.
Yes.
Most total medals, USA is -2,000. Total gold medals, though, is maybe where you could get a little bit of value. Over 39.5, that's where they set the line. I'm excited about those. It's a lot more fun. I remember, it might have been the last Winter Olympics. That would have been after betting was legal here, and that's so much fun because you just start reading about like, okay, this is the women's giant slalom. Like this one girl from like the Netherlands is like she's won like 6 in a row, but is coming off whatever injury, and so you just like see who all these people are, and then the races just become insane. Mm-hmm. Always bet on the American though. It's usually a good rule.
That's not what you're doing.
Except for the basketball. I really hate so many of those guys. Like
that's so cold.
Individual. It is what it is though. Yeah, no. Like imagine. Let's see. Like there's a football team and it's Gronk and it's I'm just like Antonio Brown and. I'm trying to remember like who your era of like rivals.
No, but I'm saying I still would choose those guys over another country.
Did you have like any like
people that I
personal
hate?
rivals?
There was a couple people that I, didn't care for. They might have all been Raiders. But,
see, that would have been the move. I was just thinking through that like playoff run.
Yeah.
It's like those would be the guys you hate. I can't do it. Bet365 though. It's going to be an awesome time this summer. If you make a bet $5 or more, you get $150 in bonus bets if you use the code DNVR365. There's a first bet safety net offer where you place a bet up to $1,000, and if that bet loses, you receive a match refund in bonus bets. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out to the DNVR, us. We do a lot of great events that you don't want to miss out on. And specifically, if you want to win a 3-night trip to Vegas in November, you can come to the bar for a Denver Broncos live show on July 21st from 1 to 2 p.m. and hang out for 3 separate trip giveaways until 5. You must RSVP to be a part of the drawing at thednvr.com under events. And if you're a gamer, there are a few spots left in the College Football 25 tournament, also on July 21st. The winner of the tournament will automatically receive a trip to Vegas presented by Circa Resorts. I don't know if Hank's rigging it. I feel like Hank or RK might have a hand in rigging the game. So if you're coming to play, be prepared because you might have your work cut out for you. We're also road tripping to Tampa Bay on September 22nd. Our road trip package includes a 3-night stay at the Wyndham Grand, Clearwater Beach, True Fan Travel Boat Party, a Q&A with the Broncos alumni, all-inclusive tailgate party, round-trip transportation to the game tickets to the Broncos versus Buccaneers, on-site trip coordinators, and more. You can head to truefantravel.com to secure your spot. You don't want to miss it. So many great events. Come check us out at the bar and go to thednvr.com to reserve your spot for this Saturday. And I won't be here. I know Hank said I'll be here, but I'm not going to be here, sadly. But
on Sunday?
On Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah. But I guess it's good news. I guess I can announce it to the world now.
Is it time?
It's time. I haven't told anybody yet. But this fall, this training camp, I'll be doing an internship with the Broncos. So I'll be on the Broncos coaching staff for an internship this fall. So won't be on the show, but we'll be doing, a little bit of talking with Hank and Zach. And if you guys want to catch me, you guys got to come out to training camp now to catch me on the show.
What are you gonna wear as a coach?
The essential coach swag.
Yeah, like cutting the sleeves off the sweatshirt.
Blue slacks. No.
Okay.
Blue slacks for sure.
A visor.
Visor for sure. Some glasses. I don't think I'm gonna do a watch. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And I don't think I'll do cleats either. Some coaches get out there and get really, really into it and put cleats on. I probably won't be that guy.
Yeah. I do like that guy, Kerry Colbert, the receivers coach. He's a big cleats guy.
Yeah.
They'll go through like the drills or individual stuff, and it's like everybody's walking to go get water. He'll just like do some sprints like across the field. I love the energy.
I'm saying I won't now, but it'll probably be some time where I just want to show the guys I still got it a little bit and have to show them like a bag drill or something. So you know what I'm saying? Not a cleat guy, but maybe one day I'll put some cleats on. So. No, I think that's a head coach job. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm blowing my whistle, somebody's probably mad, or you know what I'm saying? They might snatch it away from me, so I won't have a whistle. But
so, what are the dates on this?
So I'll be going from July 20th until August 19th. So,
19th.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yep. So we're gonna have a month without Todd, which is really sad, but it's obviously gonna be awesome for you. It's gonna be fun for us too.
Yeah.
Because we'll just be like hanging out, like. So like Alex Singleton really likes to single me out and cause trouble, especially during like the stretches, like because I always wear my binoculars and he's like, "Why are you wearing your binoculars?" And like all the defensive linemen are like, "I got him." You better be on my side when this happens.
I think I have to cross over to the dark side. I gotta pledge allegiance to my squad.
No, I did. I've never started anything.
I'm sure you said something about Montana first. Like how Montana was better than Montana State. I know you did. I would never. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun though. We'll definitely obviously see you out there, and then you'll come back with all the secrets, hopefully. Damn. No, it'll be fun for sure. It'll definitely be a great time, and I'm excited for it. Really excited and grateful for the Broncos organization for allowing me to have this opportunity, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, because you'll be coaching with your first coach, right? Joe Vitt.
Yeah, Joe Vitt was my first linebacker coach. Sean was my first head coach. Vance Joseph was my fourth head coach. But yeah, great group of guys that I'm excited to be a part of.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be pretty cool. Let's see. Tight ends was our other position here.
Yeah.
No Broncos on the list. Do you think you could? I guess I sent you the list. I should have made you name like the top 5 or so because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think
where guys fit in here.
Yeah, I think this is a good list, but also it doesn't seem like there's a lot of negotiations to be had about this list. This list is kind of set, and I'll run through it for you guys. First, we have Travis Kelce. Second is George Kittle. Third is Mark Andrews. Fourth is Sam Laporta. Fifth is T.J. Hawkinson. Sixth is David Njoku. Seventh is Dallas Goedert. Eighth is Dalton Kincaid. Ninth is Evan Ingram. And 10 is Dalton Schultz. So that's a pretty well-slotted list. I think Travis and George could kind of flip-flop at times, but just ultimately, their career, Travis Kelce's a better tight end for sure.
Well, especially... if it comes down to a big moment, 3rd and 5, got to pick it up. You want that to be Travis Kelce
for sure.
And as much as George Kittle, the better blocker, he's faster at this point, better athlete, and maybe over the course of the game, you could make the case that you'd rather have him. Mm-hmm. If one of those two guys is going for 150 or 200 yards, it's probably Kittle at this point in their careers, just because he's so explosive. But I mean. Travis is just so proven in big moments that he's got to be number 1 here until he isn't. I think it's kind of...
I think George is the most well-rounded, though.
Yeah.
Because Travis is the best route runner, pass catcher, run after a catch guy. But the things that Kittle can do in the passing game and then also the running game and how versatile he is. And he'll pancake you. He'll laugh at you. You know what I'm saying? He'll dominate some of those big guys up front. I think he's definitely the most well-rounded tight end in the league.
Yep. And I think the order is very obvious, but kind of where the tiers are is maybe a little bit tougher to say because you have obviously Kelce and Kittle at the top. Those are probably the 2 real all-pro, potentially Hall of Fame type tight ends right now. After that, you've got Mark Andrews, who's a very good player. And as they said, before he got hurt last year, on pace for 925 yards and 10 touchdowns. Yeah. Those are really good numbers. After him, Sam Laporta, T.J. Hawkinson. Do you see Mark Andrews as more of the Kelce Kittle tier or more of the Laporta Hawkinson group?
Mark Andrews he reminds me more of dang, that's tough.
I know, yeah. I'm torn.
I think Mark Andrews is up there. I think he's more of the Kittle Kelce group. He was dominant before he got hurt, and he kind of can do it all. He can catch, he can block. He's pretty talented. So I would say and he's been doing it for a while.
Yep.
He's not new to the game. So I would definitely put him maybe in the Kelce and Kittle group. Somebody who I feel like could be higher if they had better quarterback play is David Njoku. I think you saw it when he was and I always used to watch film, even when we played them, or just watch him. I'd be like, why don't they feed this guy the ball more? And once they started doing that this year, you saw what happened. He's tough to tackle. He's a big dude. He got speed on him. I think that he's one that can make a jump. Maybe above Andrews if he gets enough, catches for sure.
Oh, totally. Well, and he's only 28 too, which is kind of crazy because it feels like it was at least 5 years ago. Everybody decided nope, he doesn't really have it. And since then he's just gotten so much better. You still have a couple of the drop issues, but all of a sudden the speed shows up in the way that you always thought it would. He's still not a great blocker, but he's at least functional now. Whereas early in his career, it's you can't really play him as an inline tight end unless you're sure you're going to pass the ball because he just doesn't know how to block. But I feel like that's another thing you see occasionally from those sorts of tight ends is once you turn 26, 27, 28, 29, the blocking kind of comes. And I'm not sure if that's the grown man strength that just arrives after you lived in NFL weight room for a decade or however long it's been, or whether that's just technique that's gotten better. But he seems like if you're looking at Greg Dulcich and saying, we hope that he becomes a really good tight end who he can play in all situations. David Njoku's maybe one of those guys you point at, although maybe a little bit better athleticism, of course, with Njoku.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit bigger too. Yeah. But no, I think definitely he's somebody that, I think anybody would love to have on their team. And if Dulcich can stay healthy and put up those kind of numbers, like, I would be happy. I definitely feel like Dulcich is another one of those guys who just kind of like hasn't gotten the best of himself, all at once, what I'm saying, on the field. He's had spurts, he's had times, he's had injuries. It's just all about putting it all together for him. And I think that he's good because he's still a Bronco. Just like Tim Patrick, like back-to-back season-ending injuries. Yes, he renegotiated his contract, but I think a lot of guys would have been released or waived by the team if they didn't know that they're like, if this guy is healthy, he's a phenomenal athlete. And so I think the same thing is true with Dulcich. Like, they know how good he can be. I think they're just all hoping and waiting and doing everything they can to keep him healthy. Because I think losing him and then seeing him be healthy and ball out that would be terrible. Yep.
And kind of the bottom of this list here. At number 8, you've got Dalton Kincaid, who was young player, very good. But the other guys down there, number 7, Dallas Goedert, number 9, Evan Ingram, number 10, Dalton Schultz. Like, those are all guys who are deep into their careers and have kind of had some ups and downs. But at this point, you're saying, good player. Like, that's a tight end that you want to have on your team, even if it was maybe a little bit of a rocky road to get there.
I feel like I thought at one point that Evan Ingram was going to be number 1.
Yeah.
Like, his first 2 years at the Giants, he was balling.
Yep.
And he really felt like he was unguardable. I know it's a lot of change since then, but he's one that I was like, oh, he's going to be the best tight end in the league soon, because he ran like a 4.3 or something coming out.
4.4 at least, yeah.
Yeah, 4.4, yeah. He was moving.
Yep.
So
114 catches last year.
It's a lot.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
He has had that one little dip there. And was obviously playing with the Giants. Easy to have some trouble. Honorable mention: Jake Ferguson, Trey McBride, Pat Freiermuth, Cole Kmet, Kyle Pitts. These aren't like 5 of the exact same player, but they're all pretty similar. Like, they're all young guys, lean toward the receiving side of things. And like Kyle Pitts, very different than like a Cole Kmet, but this seems to be like kind of the waiting room for guys who are about to be jumping up into that top 10.
Yeah, especially Kyle Pitts. Hey, his name is Cole Kmet, right? And it's always been Kmet. How is the K not silent? Like, how do you choose? Like, Dawson Knox is also on the list as a received votes, but that K is silent. But Kmet.
I know Cole Kmet. So Cole Kmet was like CHGO's Pat Surtain last year.
Yes.
So he was like, he still is. I wasn't totally sure, so I don't want to make any promises. Might have to ask about that.
Yeah, why isn't that
Cole
case?
Met? Yeah, Cole Met or Ket. No, you couldn't do the silent.
I like Kmet. Kmet sounds good.
It does.
That's what I'm saying.
It's also just weird having the K and then the M. You need like a vowel in there. I wonder where that name comes from. And then rounding out the list, though, the 5 guys who received votes: Noah Fant, Luke Musgrave, Dawson Knox, Tyler Higbee, Hunter Henry. These are not the most exciting players at this point in their career.
Yeah.
They're all a little bit underwhelming for one reason or the other. Also, if I'm the Broncos, I would kill to have one of them on this team.
You had one.
Yeah?
You didn't want Noah Fant.
You didn't want him, yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted Russell Wilson. And now in hindsight, you would have loved to have had Noah Fant instead of Russell Wilson. But yeah, I mean, still some young guys on there. Like, they might be getting better. Luke Musgrave with the Packers, Dawson Knox with the Bills. Just one of these guys, it feels like, could totally change what the Broncos could do on offense.
Yeah, any of the tight ends from the top 10 to the honorable mention to the received votes, I think that will be a big spark to the Broncos' offense. And I think if you look back over the Broncos' history, we've had some really, really great tight ends. They've always been a big part of our offense, even when tight end was more of like a quiet position or wasn't a glorified position. You've had Shannon Sharp.
Yep.
And you had some really, really great tight ends. And then you go to like even Super Bowl or Peyton Manning era. Julius Thomas was a hell of a tight end for us.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's always been a part of our like winning culture to have a really, really good tight end.
Definitely. I think you even go back to Shannon Sharp and Mike Shanahan, and they changed the way the tight ends were used. Mm-hmm. Like all of a sudden,
McCaffrey.
Exactly. Yeah. But you have like Shannon Sharp. You no longer just line him up as an inline tight end. You line him up in the slot or split out wide.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had done that before with the tight end. Like that just wasn't a thing that happened. You'd had really successful tight ends before, but they all just played as that true tight end. You have Shannon Sharp and you start using him in these different ways, and all of a sudden you have, it changes the way teams have to defend you.
Yep.
And so not only have the Broncos had really great players, they've also revolutionized the position. Mm-hmm. And so to now be at this point without one, again, they tried with Noah Fant. Like when they drafted Noah Fant, the plan was we are going to have a great tight end for the next 10 years or hopefully more.
Yep.
And that didn't work out. And then they moved on from him potentially too early, because sometimes it just takes tight ends time to fit in the NFL. But this has been maybe the longest drought without good tight end play in decades and decades. Like, I don't know, before Shannon Sharp and after Riley Odoms, who was for 5-time All-Pro, whatever, that back in the 70s, I believe, like 80s, early 90s, I'm not totally sure who it was, but
yeah.
This is, you got to do something here.
Yeah, it's definitely a position of need for the Broncos, and it has been for some time. Shout out to Virgil Green.
Yeah.
Like you were saying in the chat, another really, really solid tight end that we've had. But since Virg left, I think we've been in a little bit of a drought at tight end position.
And the tough part is I don't even know what you do going forward. Like they're just
you got a loss for words.
They're really stuck. Let's just say this year plays out the way it seems like it will, which is like, Greg Dulcich plays a handful of games, looks good when he's on the field, but isn't able to stay healthy. You say Adam Troutman, he's reliable, he's well-rounded, but doesn't really have like a true strength that makes him somebody you need to have on the field. Feels like just kind of like a sub-man if you don't have anybody. Lucas Kroll maybe gives you a couple plays, but we'll say it goes just like these spring practices did, where we saw him 6 times and he had one really great day and 5 days where you're like, oh yeah, I forgot he was out there. And maybe over the course of the season, that means he has a few games where it's like 80 yards and a touchdown, 90 yards and a touchdown, but for the most part, is pretty quiet. If everything just kind of goes on the track it seems like it's headed toward, I don't know what you do this offseason, because nobody likes using first-round picks on tight ends.
Yeah.
Like that just, whenever somebody does it, they get torched. When you talk about, it's just a value problem. But also, you look at the tight ends who will be available in free agency, and there aren't many options. The guys who are currently making the most money who will be on the market next year, Tyler Conklin from the Jets, good tight end, but again, like not a guy who's threatening the list we just read. Juwan Johnson from the Saints does some nice things. Again, not game breaker. Mo Alley Cox will be 32 at that point. He had that one really great season a few years ago, but not really a game breaker. Harrison Bryant, Farrell Brown, Austin Hooper, Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki, Mercedes Lewis, some good players, but older, and really when you go through this whole list, Pat Freiermuth set to be a free agent. And that's a good one. Irv Smith, if he stays healthy, maybe he could be a decent tight end, but you already have Greg Dulcich. And so you just don't have, I guess Hayden Hurst will be 32 is maybe the other one you could circle there. But if you want to get a real tight end, it really feels like it's going to be Pat Freiermuth or bust, and it's tough to imagine the Steelers are going to let him go.
Yeah, I don't think that they will. Yeah, maybe we have to look to the draft.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see anything in free agency that really excites me as far as a player that could really come in and revolutionize the tight end position for us. Yeah.
It's just tough because I think the only way to get a good tight end is probably to draft him, because it's very rare for a really good tight end to hit free agency. I mean, Travis Kelce, the Chiefs would never let him walk.
No.
Because that'd just be a crazy thing to do. George Kittle, same thing. Mark Andrews, same thing. Sam Laporta, he's going to be a Lion for his entire career. TJ Hawkinson did get traded, but that's because the Vikings gave up so much to go get him. And because, I mean, did the Lions already have Laporta when they traded him? They might have.
I think that was the next draft, right?
It might have been.
They drafted him
And Njoku's been a Brown for his entire career.
Yeah.
Goddard's been an Eagle. Dalton Kincaid's still young. Evan Ingram switched teams. We kind of talked about that. He did have that dip, and so there was a chance to kind of buy low. But that's what you're looking at here is good tight ends stay with the same team forever because there isn't going to be much money on the open market anyway. Why not just stick where things are working? And that's what puts the Broncos in such a tough spot, is that they probably need to draft somebody in like the 3rd or 4th round, because a first-round tight end, everybody hates it. But if you draft a guy in the 3rd or 4th round, is he really coming in and taking snaps from a healthy Greg Dulcich or even an Adam Troutman, who if you're Sean Payton, you can send out there and you know he's going to do his job and he's probably not going to break the game open, but he at least will block well. He won't make mistakes. He'll help other guys out. Like, that's what makes the tight end position so tough in my mind for the Broncos right now.
Yeah, and I think what the Broncos have done, and what a lot of teams do, is they kind of get 2 guys for one spot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of teams that have a Kelce or a Laporta or a Andrews that can do both. They kind of have one guy that runs the routes, one guy that is their blocking tight end. And I think that we've done just fine with the blocking tight ends.
Yep. You can find those.
Yeah.
Chris Manhertz was out there.
They did a great job with the blocking tight ends. I think we just need to find like 2, receiving tight ends to really be like a part of the offense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this year you've got Colston Loveland out of Michigan, who will be a first-round pick. He isn't the same player as Brock Bowers, but he is similar in that he showed up and like immediately you looked at him. Like I remember watching him a couple years ago and thinking like, oh wow, Broncos got to draft this guy. I wonder what people are saying. It's like, oh, he's a freshman. You have to wait 2 years just to try, and because he's been that good for so long, you just know he's going to be a first-round pick. And he's bigger. He's more of like a prototype tight end than a Brock Bowers is.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit more well-rounded, although probably doesn't quite give you as much production in the like underneath areas. So there is one guy out there if the Broncos want to go that way. What would you think of just drafting a tight end, again, 6'6", 4'4", something, productive, out of Michigan, but still knowing like it's not a position of value, and you probably could have gotten a really good tackle or a really good corner or receiver or something else instead?
I would, if we did that, that means we had a good season with Bo.
Yeah, that's true.
And we weren't a top 5 pick.
That's true.
And I know that the league as a whole, they're not a position of value. Well, they're important, but we're saying like they don't get paid a lot, or they're not like, most guys aren't a first round pick and then also top 5 as a tight end. But for Sean, tight ends have always been important.
Yep.
From Graham to Shockey, like he's had really, really good tight ends. So I could see one tight end coming in here and really like elevating the entire offense.
Yep.
So I would not be mad at a first round tight end pick. Like if he's the guy and he's enough, like Brock Bowers. We talked about Brock Bowers all in the offseason. Like none of us were mad at with Brock Bowers at 12.
No.
Like the most we said is, jump back to 15. If you can snag him, then snag him there.
Yep.
But we were very happy with a first round draft pick if it was Brock Bowers. So I think Sean loves his tight ends just as much as he loves his offensive guards. So a good tight end would do a lot for the Broncos offense.
Yeah, and I know that he thinks in the passing game, the running back and the tight end are what can really break everything open. Like if you're stressing the middle of the field with those guys, somebody's going to be open somewhere. And if not, like you just have to trust that your tight end wins a one-on-one. The thing is, I don't see Sean jumping to go get a Dawson Knox or a Noah Fant. Like one of those guys who's like, it would be a clear upgrade, an obvious starting tight end, but maybe not a game breaker. Like I think Sean is willing to wait for the right guy.
Yeah.
Somebody, like I think Colston Loveland really does fit that bill as a guy who can win those jump balls. Like you create the matchup nightmare. Like linebackers can't guard him because they're not fast enough. Safeties can't guard him because they're not big enough. And if you can have that little dynamic and kind of force double teams, then that's what opens everything else up. But a B+ tight end doesn't necessarily fix your offense.
Yeah.
And once you get that guy, it can be kind of tough to go and replace him with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think if the opportunity arises, Sean would love to go do that. But again, teams don't like giving those tight ends up. It's very rare that it happens. And so you kind of you either have to draft one in the first round, which nobody ever likes to do, or find somebody in the 4th or 5th round and hope that you're right about him.
Find a diamond in the rough.
And that seems to be, that's how you keep living in the same world where you just don't have a good tight end.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they do. What are the odds that Greg Dulcich makes it onto this list next year? So at least an honorable mention.
Oh, man.
Top 15 tight end.
I think there's like a 25% chance that he does.
I'd go like 15.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably, between 15 and 25. I think it's all predicated on whether he can stay healthy or not. It's not physical ability because he has that. Some guys you look on the list like, if he wants to crack the top 10, he has to get stronger. He has to get faster. He has to be able to catch over the middle better.
Yep.
Like, Dulcich doesn't really have any flaws or major flaws like in his game. His game is tight. It's just his health.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really is the only thing. I'm trying to pull this up. I think across the NFL,
somebody said less than 1%. Come on, man.
Less than 1%. Because I agree. Like, if he stays healthy, I think it's 50-50. He's at least in that, like, top 15 honorable mention category. Especially, like, if you get a little help with, like, a Travis Kelce retiring, for example, that also would open things up. I'm just going to see if I can find this one stat. I'm pretty sure that among all tight ends who are currently in the league, Greg Dulcich is 14th in receiving yards per game. And the list is, it's like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, I think Jimmy Graham actually might still be on it, even though he's basically out of the league. And when you read through that whole list, I think the guy right in front of him is like a Dalton Schultz. And I'm not going to be able to find it in these next 2 minutes, but there are enough underlying numbers, because we've all seen Greg. Like, we know what he can be when he's on the field, but the numbers also support that. That he, so far maybe hasn't been like an elite tight end.
Yeah.
But at the very least is
solid.
Very solid. Very solid. Somebody who should be on an NFL field. Somebody who should be, one of the 3 or 4 top weapons on a team.
Yep.
And so it's definitely a frustrating situation the Broncos are in. Who do you think has the second best chance behind Greg of winding up? Let's say just receiving votes is the baseline among the Broncos tight ends, which basically is a question of, like, Lucas Kroll, does he pop, or Adam Troutman, is he just so solid that they're like, you know what, he's worthy of some consideration because he's a starter.
The only one that popped during OTAs was Kroll, right?
That's true.
He's the only one that had a day. He had one, you know what I'm saying? He didn't have, a handful, but he showed us something, and, maybe it died down because Sean was like, okay, we don't want to put too much out there, and we can't have everybody researching 85. Like, we want to keep this under wraps, and so I won't do this in OTAs. I'll wait till training camp. So I'm gonna say Kroll, man.
Okay.
He's getting a lot of love, or was after that first day. So I'm gonna rock with him.
Yeah, I think the other tough part for Troutman is just that, like, some of these lists we look at, there's like 25, 30 names with tight ends. Because again, the voters just put in their top 10.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clear, and that's why you just don't have as many guys who are getting votes.
Yeah.
Because it's like you'd have to be taking Adam Troutman over a Dalton Schultz or an Evan Ingram, and there is just a tier gap there. And that's why I think it's going to be really tough for Adam at this point in his career. And great to have around, teaches the young guys a lot of stuff, knows the offense. But if one guy other than Dulcich winds up getting votes for this, I think it's got to be Kroll. Any super chats? All right. That means we're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow for one of Todd's final shows, the last week until August.
It's like a countdown.
It is a countdown.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have some sort of countdown for this week.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out.
No, I
That's
had
true.
announced
That's
it.
true.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
keep
we'll
it
need to
under
like get a
wraps.
cake or something for the last day. Which I think is just going to be us. Shout out to Yaya, shout out to Landon behind the scenes, helping make all this stuff happen. And we will be back tomorrow. I think we're talking some quarterbacks tomorrow, which could be some fun. So we'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.